Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. Most of you know at this point that there was a South Park episode mocking Charlie Kirk that came out in August of 2025. Now, Charlie Kirk himself, with his usual amazing personality, he laughed it off. He thought it was showing that young people wanted to be more like him and more debating of ideas, right? He thought it was awesome. Anyway, that was August. But did you realize that Etsy witches had cursed Charlie Kirk on September 8th of 2025? And they put these curses in place through a magazine called Jezebel. Now, Jezebel is a feminist backed, hard left leaning, you guys, is bad. So we're going to talk about how Charlie Kirk was cursed, spiritually cursed, September 8th. But it started with the mocking of who Charlie Kirk was in Jesus Christ, the martyr, in August, then the cursing in September, and then the assassination, because there's something about the Jezebel spirit people are missing. We're so upset of what has happened in the physical. We are not noticing what is happening in the spiritual. The Jezebel spirit is always connected to one thing, and that is murder. It is almost an entire chapter of the book of Revelations warns us about end times with the Jezebel spirit. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the man standing in front of Charlie Kirk with what looks like a weapon strapped to his upper bicep right here. They call those a pawn gun, P-O-N, pawn gun. We're going to talk about, have they recovered the bullet? Was Charlie Kirk going to be vice president to J.D. Vance in 2028? I personally think that was on the ballot. I'm going to prove to you why I think so. We're going to talk about what hospital was Charlie Kirk taken to. We're going to talk about how the security, the Utah State University was lax, and one of Charlie Kirk's security team was also one of Donald Trump's security team during his attempted assassination. I have a tremendous video for you today. It is going to take a minute to go through all of this because I'm bringing receipts. I'm just, let's bring receipts. Right now, to me, it's so hard to focus on, was he assassinated from above, beside? I'm not an expert in ballistics. What I am good at is tying the spiritual to the physical. So Sam's going to stay in her lane today. I just think that would be healthier for me and for you. But I am going to end it with a very odd clip of something Candace Owens said that was on Twitter. It's so odd that it made the hair on my arms stand up. That's at the end of the video. So if you want to watch that, you're going to have to hang in here with me all the way through. By the way, if you have not picked up your copy of Growing Under a Poison Sky, you can get it on Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles. A friend of mine and I wrote a book about geoengineering, weather warfare. That is real. It is not a conspiracy. We're going to teach you how to clean your soil, your water, your air, and your body, folks. We need to get on top of that. We're still fighting here in my community since the hydrocarbon explosion. It's been really bad. Stephen's surgery to remove the fungus and the bacteria that caused his brain aneurysm has been moved back to October 14th. I've done a lot of crying, but I just have to trust God in this, folks. His headaches are pretty bad right now. I mean, if you had an infection in your face that was so bad that it literally caused a brain aneurysm, you can only imagine how much pain this man is in. But he goes to work every single day. And I thank God for a godly husband. So hit the like button, drop over in comments, tell me who you are, where you're watching from, and tell me, have you heard about the Jezebel magazine putting a curse on Charlie Kirk? Have any of you heard about this? Because this is new to me. This is new to me. Okay, so what is the Jezebel spirit? Let's just start with a little bit of background knowledge. The Jezebel spirit seeks to hide herself, seduce, intimidate, manipulate, murder, and trade in human souls. I have once said on this channel, money, gold, land, none of that means anything to God because he created all of it, right? What matters to him are souls. God, the currency of heaven, are human souls. Well, you know that Satan always sets up a fake, a less than, a direct opposite to God. So he too also trades in human souls. Some people talk about the Jezebel spirit because this is the kind of spirit that was working powerfully through Queen Jezebel. She was a princess who married King Ahab of Israel and killed so many prophets of God. The woman Jezebel is mentioned also in the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 20, in the context of the church. Here she is called a false prophet, a teacher of sexual immorality. Whoa, whoa. If this does not convince you that Charlie Kirk was martyred for God, I don't know what will, friends and family of the internet. But think about this. The Jezebel spirit, here was a woman that was married to Ahab. He was a king of Israel, and she killed prophets of God. I think at this point, I don't know that you would call Charlie Kirk a prophet, maybe an evangelist, but in the concept of he spread the gospel. You see what I'm saying? And then you look and you see that, how she dealt with things. She tried to hide. In plain sight, they hide, they seduce, they intimidate, they manipulate, and they murder. The biggest thing is they trade in human souls. And I'm fixing to show you the trading in human souls in such a way that some of you may not be able to watch it. So I just hope you hang in here with me. It would seem here again that the Jezebel is the name of a person who comes under the influence of the spirit because the Lord says he gave her time to repent. All right, the queen of heaven, spirit of Jezebel, mystery Babylon, harlot spirit is a very religious spirit, but it promotes religious things that are contrary to God. Jezebel promotes fleshly indulgence amongst God's people and shuns the cross. The Jezebel spirit is the enemy of the true prophets of God. The book of Revelation has a chapter almost exclusively devoted to exposing this spirit. Chapter 17. In this chapter, we read that the woman is drunk with the blood of the saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus Christ. You guys, I've had people ask me, was this a humiliation ritual for Charlie Kirk? No, no. This was a sacrifice to the Jezebel spirit. Whether the shooter intended this to be that or not, this was a human sacrifice to the spirit of Jezebel because she has to be drunk on what, friends and family? The blood of who? The saints and the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. That's Revelation 17:6. So this spirit especially hates and seeks to murder who? Righteous people and those who faithfully speak the word of the Lord, just as Jezebel, the wife of Ahab, was responsible for most of the true prophets of Yahweh in her day in 1 Kings 18:13. This is so important because Charlie Kirk truthfully spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. He supported Israel. And yesterday I showed you a video of him from 4 months ago explaining to a young man why Israel should be blessed by Christians and supported by Christians. And right now, people who claim to be supporters of Jesus Christ, and friends of Charlie Kirk are doing the exact opposite, but they're still breathing, right? So their sacrifice would not have carried the weight of someone who was righteous, who also faithfully spoke the word of God. There's the key. You have to be both of those to fit what this spirit needs to thrive. And Charlie Kirk checked both those boxes. All right, so Jezebel, still without airbrushing, still with teeth. Jezebel, update to the Jezebel Charlie Kirk story, a note from the editor. September 8th, 2025, the magazine Jezebel published what they call a humorous piece titled, "We Paid Some Etsy Witches to Curse Charlie Kirk." I did a video on Etsy witches. I will go find it and put it in community so you guys can go watch how dangerous these witches are. These people, the editors, might thought that this was satire and humorous, but they had to take the entire original post down because obviously they knew what they were doing. I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get over this bad cold after that hydrocarbon explosion. I went down to the river several times and it got in me, and I'm still fighting that. The piece was intended as satire and made it absolutely clear that we wished no physical harm. We stand by every word. Well, if you stand by every word, then why did you remove the original post? But in light of Wednesday's events and on the recommendation of our lawyers, we have removed text to be clear the decision was driven by abundance of caution for our staff and to avoid the piece being misused in a tense and volatile environment. We may republish at a later date, but out of compassion for the victim's family, we want to make clear that we prioritize an end to violence over anyone wanting to read about Etsy witches. Okay. Free speech is the cornerstone of American democracy. Cursed death was a tragic event that underscores both our country's gun problem and the increasingly heated political divide. Really? How about our country's spiritual issue with you having witches put curses on Christians? So I'm going to let you hear this, gentleman. Everything will be linked in comments. I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about what they said.
Thread, this spiritual supernatural thread that's much older than even Rome, and it's darker than hell, and it's actually Luciferianism. So this might sound like I'm sensationalizing this for clicks, but I promise you, as a lead pastor of a multi-site national church here in America, I've been studying these things for many, many years. And we're going to look at the ancient doctrine of self-deification and rebellion against God and how it's infiltrating our culture. And I'm going to begin to break these things down and dissect them for you. So as you can see on the screen, there is a witch that is basically breaking down this Etsy witch situation. And for those of you who don't understand, I just want to break it down. Make sure you stay with me through this entire broadcast, though, because I'm going to be unlocking this in layers. But on September 8th, 2025, this is so important that you understand this. There's a magazine called Jezebel Magazine. How crazy is that name? And they published an article titled, "We Paid Some Etsy Witches to Curse Charlie Kirk." So again, this is before he was assassinated. So in it, the author basically describes, and kind of like half jokingly, half seriously, but we know that all of it's serious in the spiritual realm. Oh, we just, hired these online occultists to cast spells against Charlie Kirk. And basically this is what the curses included. Now, when I read this, it's going to enrage you. As a matter of fact, like if you want to join the fight with me, hit the thumbs up right now, because every single time you hit the thumbs up, it sends videos like this into more people's feeds. But these are the curses that were being done by witches. And this is in the article from Jezebel Magazine. Make everybody hate him curses. SH your pants spell. And the powerful hex spell for enemies. So those are three of the spells or the hexes that were leveled against him, that were put against Charlie Kirk just days before he was assassinated. Now, the tone of this was...
He's right. Now, there's something else I want to show you guys, because I think we all need to look at this together. Remember the Catholic Church school shooting, right? Those little babies on their knees at church. This is from that shooting, okay?
With me, because I promise you, I have not been able to find any videos quite like this. And it's very important that you understand the significance of the times we're living in. So I want you to look at the screen. I want you to actually look at this. As a born again, blood washed Christian, you can look at this. The Bible says it's not what goes into a man that makes him evil, it's what comes out. So don't worry about, some people are disturbed about even looking at things, but I think it's important that we look at this image on the screen right now. This image depicts a drawing that's found in the Manifesto of a man named Robin Westman, who, if you don't know, was the perpetrator of a tragic shooting at the Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis in August 2025. So we're in the month of September. So this is the month before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, but these are connected, and I'm going to show you how, okay? I'm going to show you how they're connected. Okay, the drawing shows a person looking into a mirror. He's looking into a mirror with his reflection appearing as a demon-like figure. Look at it. Okay. The text in Russian on the page, which I think is an interesting choice for the language, it translates to this. And a lot of news sources won't even tell you what this translates to. And as a matter of fact, when I even tried to run this through AI to get a confirmation, it told me that it violated the terms for AI. So there's a little bit of it's hard to even get good information. So this is what it translates. Who am I? When will this end? Help me. I don't want to ... Then the bottom of the page also contains this phrase, which basically translates to, and I can't even say the word, but blank yourself. Okay. Now, why is this important? This is important because this drawing and this accompanying text that I just interpreted are believed to offer insight into not just only Westman's mental state and potential struggle with identity, but a spiritual battle with this demonic force, this internal demonic force that he could literally see. Okay. And
isn't that terrifying? Folks, listen to me. Our kids are being opened to this. They're being programmed. Leslie tried to explain this, the lady that writes our newsletter. So look, YouTube does not pay me. They've not paid me in over 5 months. My husband is very sick. If you'd like to row in our boat, look at the top of comments. If you send even $1, folks, to help me continue doing work like this, if you send me your email address, we'll get you our newsletter. Well, Leslie, who writes that newsletter, was explaining one day on an episode what programs are. That came out of Hitler, right? And Hitler's time, the way that they controlled the German youth and transformed them into true fascists. That whole Marxist ideology, and a lot of people want to say, no, Marxism is totally different. Marxism is a watered down version of what Hitler was. You swallow it a little better. It's like saying, chew this garlic because you have a fungus infection. So chew on this piece of garlic, or take this capsule of garlic powder. They're the exact same thing. They're just being given to you in a more palatable way. Okay. And the problem with all of this is our children are being brainwashed through public education, all the way up through universities. Now, I want you to watch this one very, very carefully.
Where, he was shot here, and this is the place it was done, LC Loci Center.
This may have been a humiliation ritual. The crime scene of Charlie Kirk has been totally wiped clean. Conspiracies are already flooding the internet, like the cameras around Charlie that have been removed. Maybe if we see those angles, we could see a different perspective. Also, did you know Secret Service guy, allegedly, that was protecting Trump back in Butler, he was there when Charlie Kirk's thing happened? Also, Remember those pagers that blew up? Well, there's a conspiracy that a guy had some kind of weapon right here on his shoulder in front of Charlie.
This is your assassin right here, guys. Right here. It's unbelievable that people can watch this and say, no, you're just delusional, or no, you snorted cocaine, or you're just stupid. Like, you can't see what I'm seeing. That is a palm gun. Now, you may not know what a palm gun is, but that is a palm gun. Look it up. That is a palm gun. You can see him squeeze it. You can see the recoil. Boom! And Charlie Kirk is dead. That is a palm gun. Boom! Charlie Kirk is dead.
And that's what got him. Not some guy with a roommate that thought he was a girl. Not some guy on the roof. Yeah, when you go down the rabbit hole, it gets a little scary. But the truth is this. The crime scene, evidence gone. However, Candace Owens is just one of a couple people really putting her neck out there to get the truth for us, the people.
Yeah, I'm going to stop it there because I have something to show y'all about her. And I don't think she's putting her neck out, but that's my personal opinion. All right. So I may have been a little wrong when I said I don't necessarily think it was a humiliation ritual. I just looked something up while he was talking. All this will be in description. Hexes and humiliation, exploring humiliation rituals as revenge in witchcraft. So this ties all the way back to the Jezebel spirit. I've come across the term humiliation ritual more times than I expect lately, and it made me curious. At first glance, it sounds harsh, even disturbing, but when I started to dig a little deeper, I noticed there's a lot more going on beneath the surface. What is a humiliation ritual? I would say that it's a ceremonial act meant to shame or humble a person, but not always in a purely negative way. In some traditions, it's actually seen as a form of spiritual humiliation, like breaking someone down emotionally or mentally so they can be rebuilt in a stronger, more aware, or even more humble way. All right. Let's see. The humiliation ritual meaning, from what I understand, is often symbolic. It's where things like a shaming ritual or an embarrassment ritual come into play. They are designed to challenge your sense of self, maybe even make you question your identity. Wow. Seems like that's happening to our kids. Now, this part really caught my attention. The idea of a humiliation ritual witchcraft. In some historic or magical practices, there's this belief that humiliation can serve as a purification step before performing deeper rituals. Like there might be a spell humiliation that spiritually cleanses someone by forcing them to confront their ego or their past. Humiliation rituals are a type of ritual that is designed to cause shame or embarrassment to the target. They can be used for a variety of purposes, such as revenge, punishment, or to gain power over people. Humiliation rituals are often associated with black magic. Wow. Just wow. Okay, I had to share that. So yes, this could have been a humiliation ritual, right? This is what we do on this channel. We learn. All right. Why do I think Charlie Kirk was being groomed in a good way? Prepared. No, let's not use the word groomed, Sam. Prepared. Taught by J.D. Vance to become America's next vice president. Just so you guys know, J.D. Vance hosted the Charlie Kirk show to pay tribute to his close friend. Just so you know, when Charlie Kirk was flown back on Air Force Two, that was not the first time he had been on that aircraft. And we're going to get into it.
President J.D. Vance is guest hosting Kirk's podcast as he pays tribute to his friend and ally. Take a listen.
Every single person in this building, we owe something to Charlie. He was a joyful warrior for our country. He loved America. He devoted himself tirelessly to making our country a better place. He was a critical part of getting Donald Trump elected as president, getting me elected as vice president.
NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson joins us live from Orem, Utah.
there was that. Then there's this. Kirk posted a video to X with youth of Greenland and Donald Jr. The boys were wearing Make America Great Again hats and said they thought America is great. Donald Jr. and Charlie Kirk recently joined for a special episode of Thought Crime Podcast. They discuss why Black men are pivoting away from the Democrats and leaning more toward President-elect Trump. Kirk, 31, is a conservative political activist who co-founded Turning Point USA in 2012. Remember that date, 2012. He hosted a Being Brainwashed tour during the 2024 presidential campaign, trying to gain more Gen Z voters for Trump. All right, what are you talking about, Sam? Charlie Kirk in January flew to Greenland with Donald Trump and his son. How many of you knew that? That was January 7th, 2025. Donald Trump Jr. lands in Greenland with President-elect's key allies. Yes, he was a commentator. Yes, he was great at what he was doing. But in 2028, he would have been 34, almost 35 years old. At that point, he would have been doing college campus tours, basically, right? For almost 16 years. At some point, he would have grown out of it. He would have lost the age advantage. There comes a point when you get old enough that the youth don't listen to you anymore. You guys know it's true. Tell me right now in comments, how many of you feel like your 20-something-year-old nieces and nephews and kids of friends listen to you as well as you get older? They don't. Now, once we hit my age, we understand the wisdom people older than us have. But when you're in your 20s, you think everybody over the age of 40 is old. Charlie knew that. He was smart, you guys. He was smart. I think that he was training up people to take over Turning Point on university campuses so that he could row in the boat with J.D. Vance to be the 2028 vice president. I firmly believe that. Do your research. Tell me what you think. Moving on. Have they recovered the bullet? Maybe in the autopsy, but I haven't heard anything specific about them finding the bullet lodged in anything, and I searched high and low to answer that question for you guys. What hospital did they take him to? Right here. He was taken, now notice this, taken by personal vehicle to Timpango's Regional Hospital in Orem, where he was pronounced dead. That is according to the Utah DPS Commissioner Mason. All right. A lot of people keep asking that question. Where did they take him? Why were there no ambulances available? I have questioned that myself. That makes no sense to me. You have thousands of people gathered in one area in September in Utah. You would think that possibly you could have heat stroke, you could have crowds crushing people, you could have an assassination attempt. Showing you the video that the same man that was there for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump was there for the assassination of Charlie Kirk makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Then we have no ambulance in case anything upward happens. Seriously? Whoever set that up, that would have been up to his security team. They did a terrible job. Now, I want you to notice something else about what people said. This is people that were at this event. Hold on, let me find it for you guys. I'm going to link all this. You can read it yourself, but it goes on. Kirk was picking up the microphone to answer a second charge question about the number of mass shootings in America when a bullet appeared to strike him in the neck. I'll never get the image out of my head. It looked like a fountain of blood came out of his neck. His body went limp and his eyes closed. Pitts and Terry said they grabbed each other and dove to the ground with the rest of the crowd. There were several thousand people in that crowd. Cox City University campuses have historically been places where truth is debated and ideas are formulated, and that Kirk believed his tour of college campuses was fostering debates foundational to the nation's basic constitutional rights. When someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened. Let me see. We sprinted behind his tent and ran into the nearest building. We got under a desk and called our editors. Officials moved swiftly to evacuate the campus, and more than 80 first responder vehicles descended on the university. SWAT, ATF. Y'all couldn't have been there before. Don't do that, Sam. Don't do that. There's a point in here where they said that they were not. Pitt said she was surprised that there were no scans and that their bags were not checked when they entered the event. She didn't feel there was a high security presence, which surprised her because Kirk was controversial. Nobody scanned our equipment. Nobody scanned our bags. There was no security. This woman was standing right where that gentleman that did the arm thing was standing, right there in that front row, because she was a reporter. Nobody patted them down. Nobody checked anything. I'm just saying, guys. Now look at this. This also came out in September. This is the Southern Poverty Law. They call themselves a civil rights group. This is what they put out, right? So they call this their hate watch right here. See it? Hate watch. Hate watch. This is why the left is so radicalized. They couldn't say, keep your eye on these people. We don't like what they're doing. They call it the hate watch. So trends and incidences of the hard right go all the way to the very stinking bottom. Turning Point USA, TPUSA, continued the hard rights attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion at an event over the summer where one speaker implied violence was necessary. Vincey Ellison was unsuccessfully ran for Congress in South Carolina, told a TPUSA audience that DEI supporters are inferior, and when he encounters them, I'm going to slit your throat. Ellison is a favorite Black voice on hard right media. In the past, he teamed up with leader Charlie Kirk to call Martin Luther King despicable and immoral. When the Southern Law University does a hit piece like that on you and calls it the hate watch, are we shocked? They've been setting up Charlie Kirk for a while now. It's obvious. You put the same man that was guarding President Trump with all those failures in his security. Somehow that security man made it onto Charlie Kirk's security team. The security did not check any of the people in that. There were like two rows. If you watch the videos, there's like, a barricade and then a barricade. And in that in-between place are usually where reporters go, so they can get close-ups of him. They didn't check anybody's bags, anybody's equipment. So anybody that was in that area right there, seriously? And if you had a man that had been on Trump's security team, which we showed you the videos, obviously the same man, if you know that it was not, somehow I am incorrect on that, let me know. But to all ways I've looked, it is the same security guy. I'd love to know his name. Anyway, that man would have known to do what? Look up, scan the rooftops. Scan the rooftops. I get it. You missed it the first time, but again, a second time? Come on now, America. Come on now. Now, Turning Point was created in 2012. It was founded by Charlie Kirk. Candace Owens became a part of Turning Point in 2017. She started in 2017 around like July. By May of 2019, they gave her a choice: leave on your own, or we are going to fire you. They say it was over a comment about Hitler, but it was much, much deeper than that. Much deeper than that. Much, much deeper than that, friends and family of the internet. For all of her conspiracy twisting and turning, she's got some dark stuff in her closet. After about 20 months, Turning Point realized what they had done, who she really was, and they decided to cut ties with Candace Owens, not the other way around. She did not leave on her own. They were the bigger person. They let her leave with her head up rather than really blow her out the water. Now, having said that, she worked there for less than 2 years. Okay, less than 2 years, 5 years after Turning Point had begun. I hope you can hear this. If not, you can find it all over Twitter. If you watch Candace, you probably already saw her say this, but let me play this for you.
Those of you who think that you are going to replace Charlie Kirk, okay? Kings are born. You don't just get to depose and tell us that we're going to follow this individual, okay? I'm one of the Masons of Turning Point USA. You put a shill in Charlie Kirk's chair, in Charlie Kirk's company, and you try to tell us to follow that individual, I will be an enemy of you. There will be nothing that can stop me. Okay. And I want you guys to say, this is not a threat. This is a promise. There will be nothing that can stop me. I will release every single text message. So to those of you who are trying that, I'm seeing the messages. I am telling you to back off right now. Like right now. Don't do it. Okay. Don't you think about it. I know exactly who you are. I know exactly who you were that were exerting pressure. Don't you pretend to be noble now and say nice things about Charlie Kirk and think you're going to slide into his chair. Okay? Over my dead body, which I'm sure can be arranged.
All right, several things about that I hope you guys caught. One, I am a Mason, Turning Point USA. She worked there for less than 2 years and she was fired. There's something wrong with that woman. There's something that's becoming demonic. That is a Jezebel. Then she threatens them with her famous, I'll release the text messages. She has no power. Do you guys know who has total power over Turning USA right now? Turning Point USA? Erica. How dare Candace Owens get in front of millions of people and say that she can control what happens at Turning Point USA when Charlie Kirk had a widow? Not only is it disrespectful, it's putting herself in a position that she never had. She did not build Turning Point USA. She almost tore it down. She almost single-handedly destroyed it. And they got rid of her before she could complete her mission for darkness. If you look into the cult that she is part of, Candace Owens and her husband are part of something called SSPX. It is, or at least was a totally excommunicated section of the Catholic Church. I mean, total excommunication for years, like decades, and still are not 100% recognized by the current Pope or the cardinals. Like they don't recognize all those people. And the majority of the reason why had to do with their insistence that Christians had taken the place of Jews. And they truly dislike Jewish people. Like really. And you can see it in Candace. Since she met her husband, you can see it in her. You can see their influence. Charlie Kirk saw it. Ben Shapiro saw it. They got rid of her. They got rid of her because of who she really was becoming. Now, yesterday, again, I showed you a clip of Charlie Kirk, and I paused it after he said it. He said, of course, someone in a Catholic church would have a problem with me saying it because they believe in replacement theory. That's what it's called. That the church today, the Christians, have replaced the Jews in God's heart. It's not biblical, folks. People like Candace Owens are patsies. They are, in my humble opinion, the true Jezebels of today's time. And I'm really concerned when I heard her say that, and the hate, the way her face twists up and stuff. I'm like, wow, Candace, wow, you're showing your true colors. Her self-centeredness could not be any more apparent. Was she considered a friend of Charlie Kirk? Yes. But in the past 2 to 3 years, less and less, have you seen them together at anything? He was a nice guy. And he did not let a difference of opinion stop him from friendships, but he distanced himself from her rhetoric because it's really deep. It's out of control. So I wanted to share that. I wanted to warn you. Please do not be deceived by the Jezebel spirit. Candace Owens has no control over what happens at Turning Point USA. She worked there less than 2 years and was fired. She is voiceless where Turning Point is concerned. It's a shame that they hired her to begin with, because it gives her some leeway to run her mouth. But I think in the end, God's going to handle all of this. And I ask everybody, just sit back, let people spew their nonsense. Because once you put it out on the internet, you can't take it back. You can't. But I would want to know what a crazy person's thinking. And if we shut them down, if we do what Pam Bondi's wanting to do with this, I told y'all, the Republicans are going to be the ones that remove our rights. And already Pam Bondi's whispering out there about hate crime, hate speech, hate speech. 4 years ago, you and I were battling against laws on hate speech where COVID vaccines and transgender and pronouns were concerned. But now, because we're up in our feelings, we're going to let our own party pass what they consider hate speech. Don't do it, friends and family. Trust me when I tell you, it's going to backfire on us. People have a right to their opinion. You have a right to not use their business or not let them teach your kids and not let them operate on your husband. But if you don't know what they think, you see my point? Do you see it? I love you guys so much. Like, comment, subscribe. Please pray about rowing in our boat, folks. It's getting hard, and it's stressful right now. I love you guys so much. Be blessed out there.